Hello everybody, welcome to Live Spirit Frequencies. And I can hear stuff playing in the background and I need to make that so that doesn't happen. Is that through you guys or is that me?
Must be through either James or you, because I'm muted on the other end.
It's one of you guys.
Double check. I'm muted on
It's
Ustream and on
Hello everybody,
Netflix,
welcome to Live Spirit
YouTube.
Frequencies. Yeah, and I can hear stuff
definitely
playing in the background and I need to make that so that doesn't happen. Is that through you guys or is that me?
Must be through either James or you, because I'm...
Got it. It was me. Sorry. My bad. Sorry, everybody, about that. Yeah. That was, interesting. I'm not sure why it was playing back through there. Anyway, yeah. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This is our review for Water ITC. I'm going to swing this over to Scott and James. Scott, I'm going to put you on first. And if you just want to tell everybody who you are, your website, your YouTube, everything like that.
Hey everyone, my name's Scott, and you can find me at myparanormalcorner.com. And I just want to say welcome everyone in the chat and everyone on YouTube for coming on in, and hope you enjoy the show tonight. It's going to be awesome.
And James.
Yeah, same thing. Like say, thank you everyone for showing up here tonight. Both YouTube and Live Paranormal, and hope you all enjoy our show tonight.
All right. And without further ado, I'd just like to give shout outs to anybody that's watching. Chris V. Doppel, Scott, James, myself, Rob, owner of Live Paranormal. Anybody that's tuning in, if you're on Ustream or if you are on YouTube, you can click on the link below to chat with us live during the show. If you're on YouTube, you can click on that link. It's liveparanormal.com/page/LPTV chat. You just type that right in your web browser, and bada boom, you're talking to us. It's a free account to sign up, and we'd be happy to chat, happy to hear your input and everything else. And I don't see Chris in here right now, Chris Walsh, but I want to give you a huge shout out. If he tunes in a little bit later, I still do the same. Chris, during the Water ITC, he was doing some three-dimensional photos through the 3D builder with Windows 10 and showed us some pretty interesting stuff. He shared it to our Facebook, Upstate Supernatural Facebook page, and it was pretty cool. Pretty interesting stuff. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and play some of the most amazing findings we have had on our show. Absolutely profound, unbelievable. And one of them, I don't know who they're trying to talk to, because there is two Chris's in this area, in this show chat, that have been constant with us. But it definitely says Chris. So just putting it out there. Everybody interpret it as you will. This could be loud. So if you're wearing headphones, you're going to want to turn them up after my sessions. You're going to need them for the sessions that I do within the evidence. And then for the other guys, if you turn them up, you're going to hear it without your headphones on. They're crystal clear, crazy captures. But definitely I'm going to turn this on and enjoy. I'd appreciate if you have anything you'd like to say to try to say it. Yeah, right there. Right as the car goes by. I'd appreciate if you have anything you'd like to say to try to say it. Yeah, right there. Right as the car goes by. if you were able to, if you're allowed to, could you tell us what are the rules that you have to follow? And if you were able to, if you're allowed to, could you tell us what are the rules that you have to follow? Is there a white light that you see after you have passed on? See after you have passed on. Is there a white light that you see after you have passed on? See after you have passed on.
Now Dom is using water ITC, so you are more than welcome to put your hand in the water.
Yes.
Now Dom is using water ITC, so you are more than welcome to put your hand in the water.
Yes.
Can you say your name? Can you say your name? If you do prefer food coloring, can you tell us the color? If you do prefer food coloring, can you tell us the color? Switching it over to FM, switching in reverse. Switching it over to FM, switching in reverse. If there are any spirits that are here with us currently, can you tell us what your name is? If there are any spirits that are here with us currently, can you tell us what your name is? Do you know Chris V or Chris Walsh or Doppel? Do you know Chris V or Chris Walsh or Doppel.
My name is James. I'd like to be able to try to communicate with you tonight. Um, the first thing I'd like to ask, of course, is how are you tonight? And whom I might be speaking to. My name is James. I'd like to be able to try to communicate with you tonight. The first thing I'd like to ask, of course, is how are you tonight? And whom I might be speaking to.
And that was our findings that we found from last week. Absolutely freaking nuts. Awesome nuts. Awesome. When that type of communication comes through, it tells us we're doing something right. It's kind of like sometimes when we're investigating, you don't feel too much going on, and then you get that real nice capture, and you're like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm really doing this. So it reinforces you. But about that, I mean, what do you guys think about the water ITC? And everybody in the chat, go ahead and feel free to type in the chat, let us know what you think as well. But and if you're watching on Ustream, YouTube, Broadband TV, wherever you're watching, you can come right to liveparanormal.com/page/LPTV chat and talk to us live during this show. But what do you guys think about the water ITC? Whoever wants to go first, just kind of let me know.
I guess I'll go first. I like that it's something new that we're trying. Personally, it's hard to bring water ITC into a location, so I can see the difficulty with it. It's not the easiest thing to do. It's because it's going to take getting used to using it. Personally, I think my forte personally is recorders. It's just crazy how I feel using a recorder versus using water ITC. So it's something that it's going to take time to get used to using, but it is something different. See where it'll go. Maybe I'll incorporate it into a location somewhere down the road and see what happens. And it's learning from everyone else. So that's kind of the cool thing about what we're doing is that what you guys give us back as input is something that we can actually learn from. So that's the cool thing.
Yeah, and James, what were your thoughts with it?
Well, definitely it was a learning experience. First time I've ever done it. What did I think? I don't know. Going through pictures now, there was a few things that I seen in the water, and that I thought it was quite interesting. I didn't initially feel anything like energy or anything like that while doing it, but like Scott was saying, some of the responses we got were pretty good. So
yeah,
I'll try.
We talked about it like before the show, before we were doing this show. We communicated about this a little bit, and personally for me, and this is my opinion, my interpretation of it. For me personally, each time everybody was doing the water ITC, I didn't feel that they were getting strong activity, whether it be audible or through the water. But when they were doing a voice session, or they were using a spirit box, or they are basically just asking questions, that's when I saw more activity. Now, I'm not sure why that would be in that essence, but it definitely kind of felt that way for me. And I got to agree with Scott. I mean, trying to bring it into an investigation, it's highly difficult. I mean, you're bringing a bucket of water and bringing a stir. People are going to kind of be like, what's going on here? Are you thirsty? I just don't, I don't know the practicality with it. But I saw a face. Doppel said he saw a face, which was matrixing, and I did see some things coming through, but I didn't, for us investigating, I didn't see anything personally myself that I could show to a skeptic and say, what do you see? and then be like, oh, I see a face. You know, I didn't see anything too prevalent that I could show that to, like my friend John or my friend Andy that are skeptics. So what other things did you think within the water ITC? Did you guys think the food coloring aspect made a monstrous difference, or and I'll go right back to Scott if you don't mind.
Using the food coloring, I think is a great idea, and with the fact that we got an actual EVP that told us the color of the food coloring at once, is very interesting to see that. And it's an interaction. It's something different. I think next time if we do decide to come back to this and try it again down the road, I think I would try different food colorings and take suggestions from some of the listeners. Hey, try this, try this, try this, so that way it involves them as well. That's the only way we're going to grow and learn. So.
Yeah, I definitely kind of agree with that as well. James, did you have any thoughts on maybe things we could try to do to improve what we're doing with the water ITC, or insights that maybe you thought you kind of saw as we were going?
Really, I think Scott kind of covered it there. Get more insight from everybody in the chat, and different food colorings and different ways of trying to just basically expand what we're doing a bit and try to learn from it some more. Really.
Yeah, I really that's one reason why I do love doing the live shows personally, is getting that interaction, because I'm gonna miss something. I'm human. I'm just like everybody else in the world. As we're doing this, you can't see 360. I don't care how skilled you think you are. You can't see 360. And with other people interacting and other people paying attention, you're gonna catch more. You're gonna see more. You're gonna have more findings when you're doing this type of stuff. And what do you guys? We're gearing up. We're gonna be going over to the Ouija board. That's our next thing we're gonna be doing. We're gonna start that next week. What are you guys thinking with it? What do you guys feel with the Ouija board? Are you guys excited? Are you guys nervous? Are you what's kind of the things going through your heads?
Well, with anything that we're starting, especially with the Ouija board, I think it needs to be said that there is do's and don'ts, and that's something that we're talking about prior to the show. Is there a right way? Is there a wrong way to open up a board? You should do your research on the board before you get it. There are some things that our listeners should be aware about. When I bought my board, I actually I had Nikki Paranormal, which she was awesome about helping me find information about the boards and talk with me and explain some of the things about the board. And so I actually have a custom board versus a board that was from the 1918s that I could have gotten a hold of. Being custom handmade, you're taking the person that's building its energy and love and heart into the board. At least that's my opinion. So I'm curious I can't wait to try it and see. I've already kind of worked with it, and I've actually gotten EVPs using the board. So it's interesting.
And what about you, James? Are you excited or a little slightly nervous? I mean, I'm not sure how often have you used the Ouija board too much, or not really?
No, not really. I think I might have played with it a bit when I was young. At a friend's house a couple of times, but that was about it. I wouldn't say I'm nervous. I'm more curious and anxious to try it out, to learn. You know what I mean? To see what happens. Of course, like everything else, you have to respect it and treat it properly. So that's something else I have to keep in mind as well. But I think it's gonna be pretty good. I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
And I do see Night Lover. She made a comment. She's excited about us going that route to start using it. And anybody else in the chat, if you guys would like to let us know what you guys kind of think about it as well. I've personally used a Ouija board from 1918, and the energy in it was negative. I mean, it was highly negative, made me sick. I ultimately had to get rid of the thing, but I'm still geared towards doing it. I mean, I think a Ouija board, really, essentially, it's no different than a voice recorder. It's no different than a spirit box. No different than any tool you're trying to communicate with spirits. And it's technically it's a board game. I mean, so is it as useful as a tool as a voice recorder and everything else? That's what I'm curious to find out. You know, I love testing stuff like that.
Well, and there's different boards, different types of boards. I actually have a heaven or hell board. So it's going to be interesting to see, what comes across from that. So, there are a lot. If you go on YouTube, there's tons of videos out there about instructions how to and not to. I've taken some of the things that people have put out there on YouTube and actually tried, what they're saying and had nothing happen. And then I've had some things happen. So it'll be interesting. I've also messed with the Ouija board on my 16th birthday on Halloween night. So I've been affected by a board. I had the flame next to the board actually turn ice cold blue. Put my hand over it. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to try it. I can't wait. And I also have another board that's a smaller version. So.
And back to the water ITC. When we were doing it, normally, and I'm just kind of giving this for anybody interested in doing water ITC. When you do the water ITC, you want to try to go frame by frame per image, which is, you got to know what you're doing to do that, so that you can try to find if there is a legitimate image within, what you're doing. We are going to be doing the Ouija board, and then after that, we're going to be switching, which is going to be another 10 episodes. We're going to do the Ouija board for about 10 episodes or so. We'll try spirit boxes and other things while we're doing it. But for the next thing after that, we're going to do video ITC, which is, it's kind of like water ITC a little bit. It's a little different. And I just want to give some shout-outs. Doppel, Chris V, Night Lover, James, Chris Walsh. And again, if you guys are, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can tune in and chat with us live during the show by just typing in liveparanormal.com/page/LPTV chat, and that'll take you right to where we are. You can type to us, talk to us. It's a free account. It doesn't cost you anything. Just takes 2 seconds to fill it out, and you're in here and you're talking to us. But I'm very curious doing spirit box stuff personally with a Ouija board. That's kind of my...
Yeah, I'm excited about that, to be quite honest.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Now, let me ask you, Dom, what are your thoughts on the way to open up a board and way to close a board? Because I've seen it done differently, and I've seen some people just go out and they start asking questions. What are your thoughts on some of that?
I've seen a lot of what you're kind of talking about as well. I've seen there's different methodologies that people use to open and close the boards and so forth. For me personally, I don't do that stuff. When I go into a location to investigate, do I say prayers and stuff like that? Yes. I kind of try to hold faith and so forth with me as I'm doing this stuff. But when it comes to Ouija boards, personally for myself, same as a voice recording session, I don't necessarily light a candle. I don't necessarily do an opening or a closing, other than saying, it's been amazing talking to you, or, it's a wonderful experience to meet you, starting it out. But that's just me personally. Is it wrong? Maybe. Is it right? I have no idea. It's just kind of my philosophy with some of the stuff, and down the road it may bite me right in the ass. I have no idea, but as of right now, that's how I've been doing it. What about for you, Scott?
Well, I've started this is like all new to me. So using a board, I did a little, my research and watch videos and talk to people. I usually just do open up. I let the spirits know who I am, so they know who they're communicating with, and then I'll usually let the planchette and the board warm up, and then I'll start asking questions. Now, normally I'll have my recorder going, and I'll put the recorder somewhere else in the room. And it's crazy. Like I said, 2 nights ago, I actually did this, and I actually had an EVP response using it. Now, like it was low, so it was like a Class C EVP response. Now, was that because it was a distance from the board? That I don't know. But it's interesting that I'm pulling EVPs while I'm using the board. So is it that they can't use the board to go through, but they can use the recorder, or is it because it's something new in the house and I'm using it and they just don't know how to use it?
James, you haven't really used it too much. I mean, you said you did when you were a kid. Did you guys do any form of like opening or closing?
No, you don't usually think of that when you're kids.
Yeah.
No, you just hopped on, goofed around for a while. It's one of those, oh, you're pushing it. No, you're pushing it. Well, you know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
So we never really got anywhere with it. It was just more goofing around. But as for serious use, I've never used one before, and I'm basically going to be learning off of you guys. So we'll see what my approach is.
I actually have I have a couple close friends. One of them is Matt, who Andy was actually on Spirit Box Weekly a couple weeks ago, and Andy is Matt's brother. But Matt is pagan, and Matt believes in the whole Ouija board type thing and all that type of stuff. And his uncle actually has used a Ouija board for about 30 years. He's been on and off on a Ouija board for around 30 years. And he has actually kind of explained it, because I've had an in-depth conversation with him about it, that basically as he's using it, it's not necessarily that the spirits are moving your hand or forcing you to go a certain way. It's more they're putting an image in your head, which subliminally your mind pushes that planchet to that direction. Is he right? I have no idea. But he, through his communication through a Ouija board, and numerous people can account for this, that they have seen things, they have heard things in reference to his spirit guide, which is G, is what the spirit guide's name is for him, and that's how he started to communicate with him. So I mean, I think the Ouija board in essence totally has been over dramatized. I think it's a tool, or it's a board game, or it's a family game, that essentially got a couple bad reps because there are some crazies that used it, and bada boom. People, it's the same thing as, other stuff that's out there in the world now. I just think it just got a bad rep, and we're about to find out. What's your thoughts on that, Scott? Like, I know you know a little bit of the history. I'm sure you looked up a lot of it.
Learning the information about as far as how to find out the information about how old the board is, where to find information. You can go on eBay and you can buy from people. My biggest thing I tell people is research the history of the board. Find out who you're buying it from, whether they have a good reputation. There was one on actual eBay that actually said it had salt around it, and they had claimed that it was only for expert collectioneers. And I looked at it. It just didn't feel right to me personally. I just always tell people research, find out about the board, if it's authentic. Not always is it good to buy an older board, because you have a chance of like warpage, deterioration. That was one of my decisions I made why I got this one, is that it's newer, and it does not have like the warpage. So when you move the planchette, it's a smooth movement versus something that could catch. That's one of the things that I tell people when they're looking at boards.
And I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube, or even, motion picture type stuff, and I can tell you for a fact they have, magnets and shit like that under the table that they're moving it with their knee, and that's how it makes the planchet move around. I mean, it doesn't take rocket scientists to figure out what's going on with it. I can guarantee that none of us are going to do that. Like that, all the stuff that we do on all our shows is raw. It's real. That's why we do it live. We're not out there trying to fabricate stuff. We're trying to find the truth. And I think in another sort of way, if it's bad, I think the spirits are going to tell us. I think especially with the communication we've gotten as of late, I really think they'll warn us if they think it's a bad idea. And so far, we've been vocal about using it, and I haven't heard too much saying don't do this or so forth. So,
Well, and I just want to tell our listeners, and the people that have helped us in this, thank you. Your input, your guys' guidance is very, very appreciated, and we just want to say thank you.
and actually on that note, Chris Walsh, I do see, is in here. He wasn't in here earlier. We gave you a huge shout out early on. Chris, during the Water ITC, he was doing little snapshots, little screenshots, and using the 3D Windows 3D Builder, and kind of showing us the ripples, kind of showing us some of the imaging that was coming through during the Water ITC. And I'd like to give him a huge shout out. I can't thank you enough, and I appreciate it so much for you taking the time to do that. I mean, that was pretty awesome of you to do that. And I'm gonna go ahead and actually, we got just a couple seconds. I'm gonna play the little supporter reel for individuals that kind of help support us within the field. I'm gonna play that real quick, and then we're gonna come back and probably talk a little bit more. Each week, we would like to thank our supporters. Check out one of the largest websites within the paranormal, www.liveparanormal.com. Free to sign up for live radio or TV shows. Come join the family of Live Paranormal. Have evidence you'd like to showcase? Or see others' findings? Check out the Evidence Hub. Curious to find a psychic near you? Search Live Paranormal for a psychic. Have a book? Or looking to find something interesting to read? Check out the Featured Books and Magazines Hub. Missed that show that just aired? Or looking for an old episode? Check out the extensive archive library of Live Paranormal. Check out the show's directory, whether radio or TV. Yeah, we just wanted to give a little blurb for, individuals that kind of helped support us and so forth in the field. I believe Chris V as well, she's in the chat. She's got an upcoming show this Sunday, I believe. Check it out. Just type in Chris V's radio show. You can type that right in YouTube. Check it out on Facebook. And she has a new show coming out this Sunday. So don't forget to air in and watch that as well. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and Scott, you wanted to show your Ouija board, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna switch right over to you.
Alrighty. Apologize. So this is a Heaven and Hell board, and I don't know if Dom, can they see that in full frame? Because I'm not able to see.
Yeah, you gotta hold it right in front of you. There you go.
And then on the side, it's got the different emblems. And then what they did is they put a shelf in on the inside for your planchettes. And then I got the miniature version for travel. So when I'm at a location, I can actually use it. Dom, back to you.
Yeah. Yep. And James, you have yours readily available to...
Yeah, I can get it there. It's right here.
Mine's actually set over on the side of the room. I'd have to kind of shimmy to get over to it. But the boards actually, Scott had his, you had yours custom made. The boards that James and I are going to be using, and I'd like to give a big shout out as well, is Jen Treasure Trove of Treasure Trove 952 on eBay. She's also one of the viewers that kind of has been watching our shows and been very supportive. She sent each of us a Ouija board that she found through her cleanings of what she does for her profession. And I can't thank her enough for doing that. That's why we wanted to do the support thing for all the people, because we can't. It's hard to thank everybody all the time, and it sucks because I really would like to, but it's difficult. And just trying to do it each time we can. I really think it's important. And James, you found yours real quick?
Yeah, it's right in my hands. Yeah, this is the Ouija board I'm going to be using.
Okay.
I believe it's from what Dom, this 65 or something like that, 1965, 67, around there.
Yeah, it was in the 60s, 61 or 62, I believe.
Yeah, and got the matching planchette with it there. So
Yep, ours are almost essentially the same. I actually do have another one. I picked it up many years ago. It was it was the glow in the dark one. You can pick them up still at like Toys R Us, KB Toys. And I personally, during investigating, I would just put it out. Put a camera on it, put it out with a planchette, and see if anything happened. And the only time I ever had an occurrence with a Ouija board was the one from 1918. I put that out and showed my sister, this new place I was living at. Came back downstairs, the planchette was flipped over and pointed on yes. And I was just like, oh shit. It was before I was really invested in doing a lot of the paranormal. I'm just looking at some of the chat, trying to see what everybody's saying. Yep.
Dom, I actually had a question for you.
Sure.
What is your thought on using the Ouija board alone? I know that's one of the hottest, topics that everyone has on YouTube is using the Ouija board by yourself versus using it with somebody, and watching out for somebody's able to kind of see if your attitude changes, things like that sort
of. No matter if you're using a voice recorder, you're using a spirit box, you're using any tool to communicate with a spirit, with the afterlife, in essence. I personally, I can say firsthand, be careful. You don't know what the hell's going to happen. We did have an episode, the Spirit Box Weekly. I was fine throughout the episode. We were using the Dark Fox. I was fine. And 35, 40 minutes in, I kept seeing a glimmer to my left. And then out of nowhere, my whole personality changed completely. And it was absolutely crazy. I wasn't scared because whoever was coming through, it wasn't negative. It wasn't, it wasn't malevolent. But you don't know. You never know who's going to be coming through. So with anything, you should be careful, whether it's a voice recorder, spirit box, whatever tool you are using to try to communicate with. You got to try to, and this is just my opinion, you got to try to hold your ground, per se, and try to keep the strength internally through your faith or whatever your faith is, and just try to ground yourself. And if it happens, you're going to be fighting internally. I mean, I can tell you firsthand, you will. Your natural instinct is going to be to fight it. And as soon as you get out of it, get your ass outside and just get near a tree or something and try to ground yourself. Just try to get in tune with yourself again. But I don't know if have you ever had that occurrence for you, Scott?
I know I've had, paranormal hangovers at certain locations. My first investigation, it really, I wanted to be alone. And I know that Amy Goodwin, which is Aaron's sister, when we were talking after the event and we would talk with each other for a couple of days, she's like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to be around anybody. I just want to hang out at my brother's house and just be alone. That was the same kind of thing with me. Is that I just didn't want to be around anybody because I was just didn't feel right. So it's just me at this house. So it's one of those things I won't know. Other people will have to tell me if my attitude changes.
Well, even actually, not to get any personal with it, but when you came back from Mansfield, you were kind of different, slightly.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like something influenced you there.
Well, and I don't mind, sharing it with our listeners. When I came back from Mansfield, I actually had a number of different psychics and people actually that I didn't know call me and actually tell me that I had some things happen to me. And they knew things that, like I had a bruise over my left hip and there was a bruise there. And they had actually said that you need to get a salt cleanse and be cleansed. And they would not get off the phone until I did it. So they felt nervous enough. And I've actually had some other things where I had visions in my dreams where I killed myself. So it's one of those things when you're doing this sort of thing, you've got to be prepared and ready for it, and I just wasn't.
Right. Well, I mean, nobody can prepare you completely for all the things that are going to happen within your paranormal journey. of whoever's going on their journey. But I personally cannot stress enough, with anything you do, investigation, spirit box communication, Ouija boards, voice recorders, whatever you're trying to do to communicate, sometimes what comes through isn't what you want to talk to. And it's gonna happen. And it's not a demon, that it's happening to. It's just an asshole that was an asshole in life. And in death, they're still an asshole. And they are coming through and they're mad. That you're here enjoying what they wish they could. And they come through and they're angry. And I'm not saying there isn't demons. I can't say that. I can say the demon aspect, I think, is personally rare. Very, very rare. But I mean, I've been stopped in my tracks. I was walking an investigation, walked in a circle, and got stopped dead in my tracks. Could not move. Physically couldn't move. And then all of a sudden, I'm fighting it. I got out of it. You go back through the audio, and I hear an audible voice that says, "Stop meddling with us." Just some angry spirit that was like, "Get the hell out of my area." And that's where, you learn as you go. You're gonna learn as you go. James, did you want to do a burst session, or Scott, did you want to do it?
James, do you want to go first, or?
Yeah, sure. Just give me a sec to set up here. And
it looks like the Ustream stuff's working. I gotta apologize, anybody that's viewing. Skype is slightly delayed. There's nothing I can do to correct it. It must just be something with the servers on the internet that I have. But bear with it if you don't mind. It's I can notice it. I'm fairly confident everyone else can. But I'm gonna mute while you're doing this.
Yeah, I'll do the same.
okay, you guys ready? Hi, my name is James, and I'm here to attempt to communicate with you tonight. Now, the first thing I'd like to ask, as I always ask, is there anyone here willing to communicate with me tonight? If so, could you please tell me your name? That was me putting my recorder down. Now, are you trying to communicate through me? Are you trying to communicate with me through Scott or Dom? Would you be able to tell me what your age is? In the different ways, since I've been trying to communicate with you, do you have a preference in so far what you like? Now, next up, I'm going to be using a Ouija board. All three of us will be, Scott, Dom, and I. Is there any advice that you'd like to give to us? Could you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you'd like to do? What's your fondest memory? Is there anybody in the chat you'd like to say hi to? How hard do you find it to communicate with me, like when you attempt to? Does it drain you out? Would you be able to say hi to Doppel for me? How do you feel in general? I mean, do you ever feel tired, exhausted, sad, angry? How do you feel? Do you have any family around where you are? How old would you say you are right now? Were you ever a part of any wars or um now, what was your favorite thing about where you used to live? Were you ever married? hmm Um, one last question before I end my session with you. Any advice for me next week? Because, like I said, it's my first time using the Ouija board. Any advice to me in general, what I can do to protect myself? Well, thank you very much, and this is the end of my session. Okay. And want me to play that back, Dom? Dom?
Go ahead. Also, after you play it back, I'm going to go ahead and play the evidence again for any latecomers, just to let everybody know.
Okay.
My name is James, and I'm here to attempt to communicate with you tonight. Now, the first thing I'd like to ask, as I always ask, is there anyone here willing to communicate with me tonight?
Can you hear that?
If so, could you please tell me your name? That was me putting my recorder down. Now, are you trying to communicate through me? Are you trying to communicate with me through Scott or Dom? Would you be able to tell me what your age is? In the different ways, since I've been trying to communicate with you, do you have a preference in so far what you like? Now, next up, I'm going to be using a Ouija board. All three of us will be, Scott, Dom, and I. Is there any advice that you'd like to give to us? Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you'd like to do? What's your fondest memory? Is there anybody in the chat you'd like to say hi to? How hard do you find it to communicate with me, like when you attempt to? Does it drain you out? Would you be able to say hi to Doppel for me? How do you feel in general? I mean, do you ever feel tired, exhausted, sad, angry? How do you feel?
family around where you are? How old would you say you are right now? Were you ever part of any wars or... Now, what was your favorite thing about where you used to live? Were you ever married? One last question before I end my session with you. Any advice for me next week? Because, like I said, it's my first time using the Ouija board. Any advice to me in general, what I can do to protect myself? Well, thank you very much, and this is the end of my session. This is a test.
Well, there you go.
All right, and I'm back, everybody, and basically we're gonna just go ahead and play the evidence review that we had from last week. Absolutely some breathtaking finds and findings that we found last week. And before I do that, if you guys would like to, because I'm probably gonna end the show with the evidence review, would you guys like to say anything before we kind of go ahead and? Because I know you got some stuff on your upcoming stuff on your Facebook and your website as well, Scott.
Yeah. I'm going to be heading next week to Missouri State Penitentiary for the Nick Groff tour, and looking forward to being able to investigate with Johnny Hauser and Chris from the Ghost Asylum, as well as Nick and everyone, and Jen and everybody there. So I'm also going to be interviewing Johnny Hauser there as well. I'm excited for that. And then the website, I'm also having a video release coming up here in the next couple of days. Hopefully everything gets done, fingers crossed. So you'll have to check social media on that.
And James, next week's the Ouija board. And,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know if you want to give any shout outs for.
Well, yeah, sure. I'd like to give shout outs to Chris V, Chris Walsh, Night Lover, Scott, you, and Doppel, of course, and Live Paranormal, and everybody watching over on YouTube. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out, and well, I'll see you next week. We'll see you next week, actually.
And I see BPG Trick, Stufferoo Dragon Butt,
Oh, I didn't scroll down. Yeah, sorry about that. PVT trick and Sephiroth Dragonbite as well.
Yeah, I'm not seeing everybody's name pop up in the chat room, actually. Maybe I got to click on it. Yep. Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody that's tuned in. And I'm going to go ahead and play that evidence for everybody. This is some crazy, crazy stuff. Again, as I said earlier, you don't necessarily need to have headphones for the later half of it, but you definitely are going to want them for the first part when you see me talking or asking the questions in the evidence part. Have your headphones on. You're going to want to listen a little bit closer. The ones where it switches over to the bowl of water and to James, they are crystal clear. You probably don't even need your headphones on for them. But I'm going to go ahead and play that. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Don't forget, tomorrow night we have Spirit Box Weekly. We're going to be switching over to the Spectracom made by Extreme Senses. And we got some other, we just released a video on Rolling Hills Asylum. That's on our YouTube channel right now. You can check that out in our evidence findings towards the bottom of our YouTube channel, or on Facebook. You can see that as well. But I'm going to go ahead and play this evidence for you. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy. If you have anything you'd like to say, to try to say it. Yeah, right there. Right as the car goes by. I'd appreciate if you have anything you'd like to say, to try to say it. Yeah, right there. Right as the car goes by. And if you were able to, if you're allowed to, could you tell us what are the rules that you have to follow? And if you were able to, if you're allowed to, could you tell us what are the rules that you have to follow? Is there a white light that you see after you have passed on? See after you have passed on. Is there a white light that you see after you have passed on? See after you have passed on.
Now Dom is using water ITC, so you are more than welcome to put your hand in the water.
Yes.
Now Dom is using water ITC, so you are more than welcome to put your hand in the water.
Yes.
Can you say your name? Can you say your name? If you do prefer food coloring, can you tell us the color? If you do prefer food coloring, can you tell us the color? Switching it over to FM, switching in reverse. Switching it over to FM, switching in reverse. If there are any spirits that are here with us currently, can you tell us what your name is? If there are any spirits that are here with us currently, can you tell us what your name is? Do you know Chris V or Chris Walsh or Doppel? Do you know Chris V or Chris Walsh or Doppel?
My name is James. I'd like to be able to try to communicate with you tonight. The first thing I'd like to ask, of course, is how are you tonight? And whom I might be speaking to. My name is James. I'd like to be able to try to communicate with you tonight. The first thing I'd like to ask, of course, is how are you tonight? And whom I might be speaking to.
Meow.
Nice.